them 4 or 5 years ago, one of the things I noticed was they had very little interaction at that point at their partner retreat. At that time, they probably had 25 partners. You'd have maybe a dozen of the 25 that would say anything throughout the retreat, and it was kind of the senior partners that were confident and understood what was going on. And I just said to the managing partner, man, this just doesn't work well. It doesn't play well into the future. I always ask the question, where is this going to lead? And it's hard to see somebody as a leader. Anybody's hard to see them as a leader if they never speak up. If you think about it, collectively in our profession, and we had everybody in this room and say, okay, how many hours have we individually been trained to be mind readers? It still comes up to 0. We're just not mind readers. So when somebody never says anything, especially in a partner meeting, they're a partner, that just doesn't bode well. You know, Upstream Academy is always pushing this idea, especially those of you in ELA, that you give up the right to remain silent. If you want to be a partner of the firm, you've got to speak up. And so they begin to do some different things. And I'm sharing just a couple thoughts that they did that I thought was pretty good. In the last 2 retreats, now they're up to 52 partners. In the last 2 retreats, they sit them by table, 6 partners per table, and right up front, starting with the table on the right, is the youngest partners. It's all by age. And next to them is the next youngest partners, and all the way through until the back left-hand corner is those that are by age, the senior partners in the firm. And I'll tell you, from a consultant standpoint, it's very helpful for me because I can do a lot of planning just seeing who they have, who's retiring, then how well have they covered that, where have you got future leaders, and who's speaking up. And I noticed now the last 3 years that every member of the management team, and now it's spread out to every one of their picks or segment leaders, have now tracked who said anything. Because they'll come up to me and they'll say, I haven't heard from Joe. And they know that Joe hasn't said anything yet. And my encouragement to them was, spend a little time with Joe and encourage him. They had one partner, and his name's Scott. He's a great guy. I really like Scott. But what he was doing 4 years ago was just not right. They would talk about key issues. A lot of people would not say a word. And then during a break, you'd see them all get around Scott, visit with him. And then after the break, Scott would raise his hand and have lots to say. So I pulled him aside and I said, Scott, you're trying to do something you think is helpful, but it's the worst thing you can do for partners. The worst thing. You become their spokesman. No partner should ever need a spokesman, ever. And Scott got that now. And he even said to me, Sam, I understand what you're saying. What should I do about it? I said, it's really simple. And the next time somebody comes up to you and says, Scott, can you believe that? Why didn't they do this or whatever? As soon as they get back together, raise your hand and say, Joanne had a great comment to me. Joanne, stand up and share it. You'll no longer be Joanne's spokesman, I promise you. And Scott's done that, and he's great now, and he understands he's not somebody's spokesman. No partner should have a spokesman. They assign newest partners to report. So anytime they would meet and talk about tables or any key issues, they always had young partners report on things. I thought, and the newest partners, I thought that was really healthy. And then one thing they did last year that I really, really liked is they asked a group of 6 senior partners in the firm to come up as a panel, and they were prepared in advance for this, and they wanted them to share what we hope never changes about this firm. And then they asked 6 very young partners in advance to come be prepared and sit up on a panel and share what they hoped would change about the firm. And that was really insightful to get that perspective. It was, hey, I hope our culture never changes. I hope we never change being honest with each other, versus some of the sacred cows. I hope we can change some of these things. And that was really helpful to see different perspectives, and that's something they'll likely continue with.